Welcome back to another awesome video.
Yes, that's right. Today we're taking two 1980s boomboxes to the beach.
We're currently in Memphis right now, so we gotta get over there to Destin.
We're going to lug a Panasonic RX-C45 and RX-C52 from Memphis all the way down to the Redneck Riviera, Destin, Florida, and give these boomboxes a good field test. We'll let you know what it's like to use a 1980s cassette boombox in 2021. And we're going to take a closer look at these two Panasonic models to see what unique features they have, which one holds up better, and which one of these two I'd recommend. What did you think of this whole thing? What do you like about the boombox?
No, Dad should. By the way, Dad played pina colada, and then later we went to a restaurant and had pina coladas on. It was heavy. Let me just say that, and I walked into some shade and stuff.
Yeah, it was heavy lugging these things around, but let's just put this into perspective for a second. You know, this technology is so old. Just to compare, one of these boomboxes is from 1983 and the other's from 1984, 38 years old. That would be like someone in the 80s taking World War II era technology from the 40s to the beach. But surprisingly, it worked pretty well, and with 40 watts of power and two speakers, these things really blow those little Bluetooth speakers out of the water. Of course, the penalty you pay is in weight. They're very heavy, 13, 14 pounds, fully loaded with speakers and batteries. How easy was it to carry those around?
Not good. Dad has to owe me $10 for carrying the whole thing up to our room.
Oh, I do I? Let's start with the RX-C52, which is the nicer of the two boomboxes. It features an all-electronic transport with auto reverse and music search. One of the interesting features the RX-C52 has is microphone mixing, which we showed earlier. You can hook up a microphone and make announcements. Say testing, testing.
Testing, testing.
Another feature is called the One Program Repeat.
What does it do?
It repeats one song over.
Over and over and over again. Basically like an auto replay on the music search, which, you know, a lot of times if you like a song, you're going to want to play it over and over again, and this saves you the trouble of rewinding it. That's a feature I know my parents didn't want me to have because they used to play Land Down Under over and over again. Anyway, now on to the RX-C45. This is the lesser of the two boomboxes in terms of feature and price, but I would argue this is the better one for the modern cassette user. Also probably in the past as well. It doesn't have auto reverse, but the feature it does have that's unique is the graphic equalizer.
By the way, if you notice the LED thing, it looks like a train track like the Fisher one.
Yeah, it does remind me of that.
And also these are bigger buttons and the other one has smaller buttons.
Yeah, the more full-featured boombox, the 52, has buttons that look the same and they're tiny. And so on the 45, it makes more logical sense. Not only does it use the sort of de facto standard combination function power button, but it also has a very prominent volume slider, unlike the 52, which is tiny and looks like all the other buttons, which are hard to make out in bright sun. You're gonna pull that tape out. It's gonna get sandy. Here we go. Here, I think you need some H2O. Here, put that tape in. Yeah. Open it up and just stick that one in. You gotta drop it in there, yeah. Now close it. Now press the power button, power on the left. And then press the right play button. Forward, that one right there. No, that's fast forward. Press the other one, the big arrow. Now that's record, press the big arrow. There. The problem with this is the buttons. They're hard to see and they're not really logically laid out. It's this thing, but don't blast out the neighbors. That's the volume right there. That's true.
Hey, coming back to Mid-South Coliseum, July 27th. They're deaf, they're Run DMC. It's like that, and that's the way it is. You'll see Houdini and their magical illusions. LL Cool J with his 8-watt radio, plus the Timex Saxophone. Tickets.
I just like using this one better. The controls are a lot easier to find on the RX-C45. And probably, even though it's cheaper on eBay, it would be the better deal. And we'll get into another reason why in just a second. Next, let's talk about some of the features these boxes both have in common, such as detachable speakers, which are marked 3 ohms, 20 watts on the back. Both have a carrying handle and a tape counter. Both have 3 different types of power connections, an AC adapter, DC adapter, and of course the compartment for 8 D-cell batteries. Also, interestingly, they use different speaker connectors. The 52 uses 1/8 of an inch phono plugs, while the other uses standard speaker wire. And on the back, you also see the RCA jacks for line input and output with a phono preamp built in. Another interesting button they have in common is a metal tape button. It's either metal or normal. There's no mention of chrome tapes or other tape types, and there are no sensors inside the cassette mechanism. Metal is mentioned prominently on the cassette door, so I'm assuming this is kind of a marketing push to say, hey, this thing can handle metal tapes. Next, we'll move on to the repair section. If you're not interested in that, just skip ahead in the video 3 or 4 minutes.
Let's power it up.
After powering the RX-C52 up for the first time, I found the radio to be in working order, and it picked up stations without a problem. And as I expected, after, 37 years, the tape deck had some mechanical problems.
No real movement.
Unfortunately, the take-up reel did not take up, which meant the thing would, just eat the tape eventually. So I had to get into it and take it apart to get to the tape deck. The belts were fine. I just had to kind of lubricate some parts and get the tape deck going again. Another problem I found when looking at the radio a little bit closer was that the little station indicator did not move. Those are usually driven by a string or something, but that was broken, but it would still tune stations. So taking it apart simply involved removing a bunch of screws out of the back, and then the front plate came off. And once inside, it's pretty tight in there. And this is another thing that I think is a disadvantage of this boombox over the other one, is the fact that the different cards or pieces of the boombox are connected with these stiff push-together connectors. See, there are some that use wires, and the other one, the 45, uses more wires, but this one, the main boards are all connected together with these very stiff connectors, which can develop a short, and did develop a short as I flexed them, putting this thing back together. Oh, come on. And the tuning indicator was unable to be fixed because it was a little plastic sort of gear thing that had broken off, and so half of it was gone. So when I put it back on the track, if I tuned beyond a certain point, it just came off track. But that wasn't that big a deal because the radio still worked. And as to the tape deck itself, it was just a matter of taking it apart and cleaning it, which was very hard to do. But the belt was fine. There's just a spring and some gears that weren't popping into place. But that's pretty much the repair story on this one. And on the older one, the RX-C45, the repair was even easier. There was no repair. It just worked. I bought this for, $10 on shopgoodwill.com, and I took it to the beach. There was nothing wrong with it. And as I said earlier, I really like the layout and the style of the controls. So my recommendation, if you're looking at these two, would be to buy the RX-C45 over the 52. I even like the style of it better. I just think it ages better. So that's about it with our trip to the beach. What'd you think of all that stuff?
It was pretty cool. I got sunburned.
Oh, yeah. And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time in another awesome video. Bye. I don't want to